Today on the Tech Blog, we're taking a look at the Vitamix S55. If you've ever seen one of these in use, maybe at a trade show or during an in-store demonstration, you know they're no ordinary blender. In fact, something of a cult following kind of develops around people who start using their Vitamixes, and then that's all you're going to hear about. So we're going to take a look today at what comes in the box, and then we're going to put this one through its paces to see what makes such a difference. So inside the box comes with, of course, the blending base. It's got 5 preset blending programs as well as 10 different speeds. So it gives you a variety of options depending on what you're making. We've got the 40-ounce container with, of course, the very powerful blending blade inside, and I can attest for you it's very sharp. This model, the S55, also comes with a to-go cup, if you will, with a lid that you can just pop open and close depending on where you're going to use it. And also the tamper, which looks rather menacing, but you'll see what it's used for in a couple of minutes. The other thing that you'll find in the box, it's got a handy little cheat sheet card. Gives you some instructions on what you're going to use it for and how it needs to go into the blender. Also comes with a cookbook and, of course, your requisite user manual. So let's get to work and give this a try. So our first test is going to be to do just a very basic smoothie. I've measured out the same proportions of all the ingredients, and I'm going to use both the Vitamix and my old standby blender that I thought was just fine for the last 5 or 6 years that I've been using it. I'll put them each into each blender. We'll take a look at what happens when things are done. Now the Vitamix has a preset blending program for smoothies, so while this one is running, I'm going to run this one for the same amount of time. When this one stops, we'll turn this one off, and then we'll pour it out and see what we've got. All our basic smoothie ingredients are now inside both the Vitamix and the regular blender. We're going to set the timer and see what happens. All right, here is smoothie number 1. This is the smoothie made in our regular blender. Oh, and you can see there are still some frozen fruit chunks in there. And if you get a little closer look, you can see it's actually pretty grainy. It's definitely blended, but definitely grainy. Let's take a look now at what the Vitamix looks like. That's going into glass number 2. Couple tiny little chunks, but otherwise pretty smooth. And if you compare the two, the Vitamix has definitely a smoother consistency. All right, it's time now for the real test, the taste test. I'm going to try this smoothie we made with the original old blender first. It's good. There's definitely what I might call some texture in the glass. You can kind of taste that it's not quite blended. Maybe it's the seeds, maybe it's some of the frozen fruit. Definitely a little bit of chewing to be done. This one's the Vitamix. Did hit a little piece of frozen fruit there, but the overall texture is so much smoother. Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't know that there's spinach, flaxseed, mint leaves. You wouldn't know there's any of that stuff in this glass. It's definitely much smoother than the original blender version. When we made these smoothies, we put the old blender on one of its 3 settings. The Vitamix, by comparison, has so many more different settings. So while there was a little bit of a piece of frozen fruit in the smoothie we made, that's easily fixed by cranking it up to the next most powerful smoothie setting. And frankly, that's what I use it on almost every morning. The other thing that should be noted is this Vitamix is actually one of the smaller units that you can get. There are some much more powerful workhouse tank versions, if you will, of this machine. We've been liking it a lot. It's actually taken over breakfast in our house. I use it every day. My husband uses it every day, and it's a really good way to incorporate more fruits and vegetables into the diet easily because it purees them so well you don't even know you're eating or drinking them. Breakfast isn't actually the only reason we're loving the Vitamix. That's because it can also do a lot more. The Vitamix makes an entire cookbook's worth of other things aside from smoothies. It'll make dips, soups, frozen treats, you name it. So we put together some basic ingredients here to make just a super simple dip. I've got some roasted cauliflower that I saved from last night, some yogurt and hummus, and a few little spices. So Vitamix wants us just to dump everything into the machine. That's yogurt, a little bit of hummus, the cauliflower, and finally, some spices. For this recipe, we're going to select the dips and spreads program, and for this recipe, you're also going to need the tamper. You're about to see why. So let's see what we've got here. Looks like a pretty smooth dip, well mixed. Let's do the ultimate test and see how it tastes. It's really good, really tasty, really well mixed, really delicious, really smooth. The Vitamix S55 is available for $539 from Vitamix.ca. I hope you liked our video today. If you do, consider sharing it with your friends. And don't forget, for the latest tech news and gadget information, you can check out my tech blog at erinlyc.com. Hope to see you back here next time.